Very good. All right. When you see that, that is Good Morning Kenya. We are ready on the show today. And being a Tuesday, we usually do people in politics, but we had to put that because everything that is happening across the country is more of politics. And today we want to talk about politics to do with the gender-based violence and femicide. Kenya has been on the radar for far too long when it comes to the two ills that is affecting us, gender-based violence and femicide. And when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide, this year the government gazetted a 42-member committee to look into that with an end or with a sole mandate specifically to come with a solution to end all this that is happening in the country. And I have able brain, Honorable Lady Justice, retired Dr. Nancy Baraza, who is the chairperson of the technical working group on gender-based violence and femicide on set. Dr. welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you, sir.
And good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Karibu sana. So we are talking about gender-based violence and femicide, but before that, how about I take my audience through the front page of the local dailies before we get into the discussion, as we usually do. So on the front page of the Standard newspaper, I have this, Raila caged. That is what's on the front page of the Standard newspaper, Raila caged. What does it say? That veteran opposition leader's political future is at crossroads as he and his closest allies, that is Oburu Odinga, Paul Mwangi, and Junet Mohammed, navigate high-stakes talks with President Ruto. Yesterday's State House meeting signals a possible shift in alliances, raising questions about Raila's next move ahead of 2027 general election amid division fears in ODM. That is on the front page of the Standard newspaper. On the front page of the Star, NSSF rates how you will retire with the 16 million shillings. Okay, that is on the front page of the Star. NSSF rates how you will retire with 16 million shillings. There is a breakdown there as far as your contribution is concerned. Employers, workers, unions support new rates. You can take a look at that story. All right, on the front page of the Daily Nation, what do we have here? Who wanted this Briton dead? That is the big question on the Daily Nation. Who wanted this Briton dead? Now, it's somebody would say it is a murder most foul. Investigators say that the partly decomposed body had visible injuries. He was in the country. He arrived in the country for a conference, but that was on 16th of February 2025. The gentleman, Campbell Scott, never went back home after that conference. And it's quite disheartening that we are talking about gender-based violence, murder, femicide, and on the front page of the Daily Nation, we are talking about who wanted this Briton dead. All right, so that is on the front page of the local dailies. You can take a look at your favorite copy for your read. But let's come back home and talk about this. Dr. You are leading a team of 42 members. This is a huge team. Please just take me through your sole mandate in as far as this is concerned.
Thank you very much. That huge 42-member team,
yes,
is a very good team. It is a team which comprises very many people with various experiences in the area of GBV and femicide, with various expertise. And they come from all sectors of society.
Yes.
We have academics like myself and several others who are experts in the area of gender studies, in the area of law, in the area of human rights. We have doctors, and my own very able vice chair is Dr. Thenya, the one who runs the Nairobi Women's Hospital chain. We have sociologists, we have survivors of GBV, we have parents of the children we have recently lost to femicide. We have government departments, we have government itself here. All departments, the ODPP, the Attorney General's office, the police, the National Council of Administration of Justice. We have NGO sector. We have Law Society of Kenya, represented by the president herself, Faith Moni. We have FIDA, we have IMLU, we have the religious organizations. National Council of Churches in Kenya is in it. Muslims are in it. Hindus are in it. We have the Face of Kenya in respect of race.
Yeah.
Yes. So every race is in this thing.
When you look at it, that's
Yes.
a big number, and
Yes.
it cuts across. And actually, when you talk about the
Yes.
professionals,
Yes.
basically, you are out to look at the root cause of femicide and gender-based violence.
Yes.
Does it really worry you that in the year 2025, a commission is formed to look into the reasons why there is gender-based violence in Kenya and femicide?
It has taken a while.
Yes.
Gender-based violence has been an ongoing menace for the longest time. And of course, it spills over into femicide. But we are seeing emerging trends of new forms of femicide. But it has been there and dealt with in various ways by various sectors in society. But we have, in my view, we haven't had a coordinated approach taken on by the government itself. So what gives me hope is the fact that for the first time, the government itself as the primary duty bearer to the protection of Kenyans, of the security and safety of Kenyans, has come out to state that this thing has to end. Please tell us how we can do it. So I think that is a positive move. It means that the duty bearer itself, which is the government, which owns funds, which has the security, which has the force of power, the force of power, has taken up the issue, and that is good for me. It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
So I think the credit goes to the president for realizing that the government has to take charge of this. And so there we are, the 42 members with a long list of terms of reference. But basically to look at our institutions, justice institutions, for example. Are there weak links? Are we having sectors within the justice system which are not working? Is the police working well in their investigation? Is the prosecution going on well? Is the judiciary fitting in well? We have to look at the law itself. Do we have sufficient law to cover areas of GBV and homicides and femicides? Do we have it? So those are part of our mandates. Are we having policies, government policies which address GBV? Because when you come to the causes of GBV, you'll find it is a multifaceted thing. It is political, it is social, it is economic, it is psychological, it is a combination. It's very, very complex. So we have to look at that. Are the policies working? Do we have them in place? Do we need more? Do we have gaps? Actually, we have to look for gaps. And what I would want to say is a lot of work has gone on, be it in the legal sector, be it in the social sector, but there are gaps. Other TORs include us looking at the family unit. And you know, it all rotates around family. And so we want to understand, has the family lost it at some stage? Our responsibilities as parents, do we have something going on? Probably we are overwhelmed with other things. We are not paying attention to what is going on. Because I hear stories, you know, I'm called, people come to talk to me. there are hotspots, and there are hotspots for GBV in this country.
You've mapped that already?
Oh, you know, a lot of research has gone on. And you get data, you get statistics. A place like Bungoma, it leads, it's number one in terms of GBV, in terms of SGBV, in terms of child molestation, child FGM, you know, followed very closely by Muranga and followed by Homa Bay. So there are hotspots. And what you get from there is sometimes a lapse in parental care for children. Bungoma here, you know, the prolonged matangas, you know, matanga. Children have now joined in that matanga, which goes on for 2 weeks. People dancing at night, children have joined, they are being violated, they are being defiled. You know, where are the parents in all this? So we are to look at the family. We are also to look at maybe the way we allocate resources as governments. Have we been putting enough in this area of GBV femicide? So our mandate is big.
Yes.
The TORs are like 10. Yes.
Okay. I'll come to them probably later on.
Yes.
But let's come back to the issue of coordination. You talked about it. And perhaps one of the reasons why the working groups never achieved the intended purpose, probably to fruition, is because of lack of coordination. You talked about the legal system. You talked about the medical system, you know, the security sector. How are you intending to change this?
I think the very nature of the task force, the technical working group itself, it is very inclusive. It brings in everybody. All sectors which have been working around the area of GBV and femicide, the NGO sector, the religious sector, the government itself. So that is why that group is like that. It is an intentional group because it brings together. And each of these groups or these people are bringing in the work they have been doing. And I started off by saying that a lot of work has gone on in this area. You know, a lot of initiatives, but not extremely coordinated. But we are hoping that by bringing them together, we don't even in some areas need to reinvent the wheel. Research has been done. We have these statistics. We know some of the causes. So what should we do?
Yes.
And what the president wants from us is not once more to come with a good report. You know, a good report, this is what we found. What he wants from us is actionable recommendations. We have been here in this space for far too long, perhaps. Is there a way we can point out, if we do this, Mr. President, if you do this, this thing will end, or you'll ameliorate it. If you do this, you know, actionable recommendations.
You know, you talked about you've been in the system for far too long. You were the president of FIDA way back in the 90s, but what has changed? Or are we still on the status quo in as far as GBV? And now, what we are now is SGBV, femicide, is now mutating to something else? Yes.
I have been there in the trenches for the longest time. And the horrors of domestic violence as one form of GBV, SGBV, they were all there. The real horrible cases we dealt with. They are still going on. They are still going on, probably at a higher level, which is very, very concerning. And that is why, as a society, we must be concerned. Now they are mutating. We have now technologically facilitated GBV, very new on the scene. And therefore it's mutating, requiring or calling for strategies which are appropriate to that. So and the new forms of femicide. You know, traditionally it has been domestic violence, violence involving intimate partners, boyfriends and girlfriends, wives and husbands, wife beating, of course, and husband beating, which now gets into, sometimes ends up in femicide. But there is this new one which seems to be a new target towards women.
Yes.
Just being killed because you are a woman. The 40 women found in the quarry dump. Is it a dump somewhere?
Yes, in Quarry, right.
In Quarry, 40 women, that is not a small number. Is there a pattern? Is there a motive behind it? And then you come across very concerning things. 40 bodies of women, young women, dumped in a dump site, not very far from the police. The fellow who is alleged to have been arrested and put in some remand of sorts in a police station, vanishes. The fellow vanished and went, and we don't know how.
To date, we've not had any report whether he was rearrested or something.
We don't know. Was he rearrested, in your view?
Not any report that I have so far.
Yeah, so what we have is that the fellow just walked out of one of the most secure police stations and went. So this could be pointers to either our failure, our failures as a justice system, or maybe a motive. That's why we, as a society, we have to understand what is the motive for the killing, this targeted killing of women.
How does the family fabric and the background and cultural effects actually contribute to GBV and femicide? Because when you talk about the 40 women who have their bodies were found in a quarry, it might be perceived to be some erosion in our family fabric, societal fabric, or cultural aspect to it.
Those 40 bodies is something that we need to seriously consider, but I do agree, culture, patriarchal practices, attitudes, they contribute a lot to GBV. And my long life in the trenches with women and the GBV revealed quite a bit of that. What was the trend then? The trend then even remains the trend now, not that we ever dealt with it. It is a patriarchy where the life of women is not valued, okay? Yes. In some cultures, something like dowry, something like bride price. You know, you parents may not realize that you are selling your children into servitude. You are selling your children into situations which put them in a situation where they encounter GBV because there is bitterness there or a sense of ownership. The man who has paid the dowry, now they think they own the woman. And when they are beating them, they are, I paid so much money for you. Dowry in our culture, or in the African culture, used to be a token thing, a token of appreciation. Right. It was never what we are seeing now. Now it is at a commercial level. You ask a young couple, a young man who has just come out of college, marrying a young girl, you want 2 million Kenya shillings from them before they get married? Are we being real? Why are you selling your children? And let me tell you, I talk to young people, I deal with them. This is what they are going through, this hardship. And then if eventually they do harambes to pay the dowry, right? And I'm sure you know, people are asking for harambe to pay dowry. And the parents happily receive that dowry. And then these children you know, you've sold them.
Yeah.
They will be told, you cooked bad food, you are beaten, you are not worth my cows, you are not worth the 2 million I paid. So culture, some culture can be good and culture can be bad. We can retain some positive culture, but do away with negative culture.
Yes.
We are killing our children. And this thing, of course, that contributes quite a lot to domestic violence. What else? Family. Now, family, our values, we don't know if they are gone, but happily again, one of our TORs is to look at our family and social structure. Have we lost it? Where neighbors don't care for the other? Where domestic violence is going on, beatings are going on, and we go on like we saw nothing.
Yes.
When actually we can help, we can report to the police and have the police come to arrest. And the police also, people complain that if they go to report matters of GBV, it is not taken seriously.
That was my next question, because
Yes,
when you talk
please.
about the trend that has been there for far too long, but then when one person reports, mostly it affects, either you are told, come with a P3 form, or you pay a certain amount for some action to be taken, or you are told Inspector so-and-so is handling a case where so-and-so, and you tend to lose the evidence along the way. You have a technical working group, and you say there's a coordination now between some of the systems that have been put in place. Are you seeing a situation where you are going to change this narrative for better?
That is the aim. We have to, I mean, institutions in this country have to work. The police have to do their job. But the police probably need sensitization and education. I don't know if that is going on as part of training, so that they see reports and cases of gender-based violence as serious cases that merit their attention. But as you put it, people go to report and they are like, this is a domestic thing, go back home. Go and sort it back home. That is happening. And that way, if the police have that attitude,
yes,
and of course police are part of society, so it is part of that is the attitude of society. So it requires a whole mental change for society itself,
yes,
to appreciate the fact that domestic violence, that injuries out of battery in a home are criminal activities, and they should be dealt with seriously. They should be prosecuted.
Yeah. You have a long, one of the mandates is to do the sensitization and awareness, which what you're doing right now is part and parcel of that.
Yes, yes, yes.
But you have got 90 days to do your job and deliver to the appointing authority. Now, when you look at this, how far are you intending to do the sensitization, the awareness, the public participation, which is also very important, so that the whole of this thing is now imprinted in us, that when you take care of your neighbor, when you take care of your husband, your wife, your sister, or even your brother, you're taking care of the community and world in general.
The good thing is,
yes,
we are to make recommendations. And probably part of our recommendations, or one of our recommendations, is that the government makes it its business to formalize sensitization and education of the communities as a long-term measure.
Yeah.
As a long-term measure. We cannot continue living like this. The government as a duty bearer, you budget for sensitization of the Kenyans, to change their mindset, to appreciate the human rights of people. And as you rightly put it, we have laws in place. A very robust constitution that guarantees people's rights, men's rights, women's rights, the security of the people, access to justice, dignity of the people, socio-economic guarantees. But are Kenyans enjoying them? Do even Kenyans know that their rights are guaranteed. All we do is make laws and keep them somewhere up here in Nairobi or wherever. They hardly reach the people. So I think we have to start from there. There is a lot of education that has to go on, because the main problem is our mindset. Where women, and I refer to women because they are they bear the biggest brand. Not that men are not violated, they are, but the biggest brand falls on the women. Now, women are not valued. Their life is not valued. Where young men in the villages are now going to rape a 19-year-old woman, 90-year-old woman, 90-year-old woman.
Right.
Yes, until she dies. Okay? Another one, 70, it was the other day in Muranga, until she dies. It's because we don't value. And the women are seen as objects of sex objects. And we have to educate the communities to respect the human rights of women and men, so that people are not objects of sex.
Absolutely. Doctor, let's take a break. Can we come back? I still want to come back, because when you talk about the mutation of the whole system, we are in the world of technology, social media. How is this actually spurring or fueling GBV and femicide that we are experiencing in Kenya? Number two, do you have a budget? And number three, what keeps you awake at night now that you have a 42-member working group? What keeps you awake at night? We are asking those questions, and answers will be coming shortly after this break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. So please talk to us on our social media handles, and we'll be asking some of the questions to Daktari at the tail end of this discussion. Honorable Lady Justice Retired Dr. Nancy Baraza, who is the chairperson of the Technical Working Group on GBV and Femicide in Kenya, which was gazetted by the President, and they have got a 90-day ultimatum to come up with recommendations on what should be done to curb GBV, SGBV, femicide, etc., etc. Daktari, let's talk about the issue, the advent of social media. It reminds me way back in the days when empathy was part and parcel of our system. But right now you find that something happens, and before even the mainstream media gets the whole story, it's already out there. From Nairobi to Todonyang to Kiunga, everywhere. What do you think that the advent of social media has fueled the ills that's affecting our society today?
I think social media is both good and sometimes not good. In the sense that it informs the public, and sometimes at a speed which is good. Some man is walking around with the body parts of a woman dripping in the street, you know, in a very callous manner. You are carrying the body parts of a woman. And let me tell you, when you go to buy a piece of goat meat, it is wrapped up with dignity. We don't walk around with it dripping. But this is the value that we are now putting on human life. Okay? Social media catches it, and we receive it. But social media can also have negative effects. I think we are now having cyberbullying, which is fueling GBV and even femicide. So it is important in that regard. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You're right.
Yeah, social media is good. It's giving us information, probably filling in gaps in some ways, but also it is being accused of fueling cyberbullying, fueling some form of GBV. The technologically facilitated GBV, an emerging trend, which is on the rise, which is affecting many people. I'm a bit of an analog, but I try to catch up, talk to young people, and they say they are so scared, they are so depressed because of what goes on or what can happen with the social media on their social lives. Some get into depression, some even contemplate suicide. Probably some of the suicide cases we hear about are as a consequence of that. So that is a very relevant area which we also want to understand.
Yeah. You know, we've been here for quite some time, Dr. And let's talk about some of the bottlenecks that you're facing and the challenges. What, in your view, are perhaps the challenges that you are ready to tackle and put the whole of these stories of femicide, gender-based violence, whatever we're seeing in the society, to come to an end?
I cannot claim my technical working group has a magic wand. And I started off by saying that this is a very, very complex issue. It is not a linear thing that you can say, if I go like this, I'll get. It is politics, it is economics, it is complex.
Yeah.
And we are approaching it in a multifaceted manner. But basically, we are banking on society. Society is at the center of the success of turning around this society, this country, in terms of addressing GBV and femicide. So that I cannot claim to have a magic wand. But together, through these sensitizations, and sufficient resources being allocated by government in the right places, maybe training the police and changing the mindset of the police and changing the mindset of everybody within the justice sector, because they are all part and parcel of this society which doesn't think that GBV is a serious thing.
Yes.
But good things are happening. The judiciary itself, her ladyship, the Chief Justice, has set up for the first time a gender-specific courts, the gender-based violence courts, which she intends to spread around the country.
Yeah.
That is very useful because it will avail or afford access to justice by victims of GBV. So collectively, I think we can make headway.
Yes. I asked a question before we took a break, that what really keeps you awake at night, now that you have got 90 days to deliver and give Kenyans that hope that moving forward, we will not be waking up to cases of one person was killed somewhere, another person was murdered in a room somewhere, or there's family conflicts in our society. What keeps you awake at night, Dr.
What keeps me awake at night is, can we make, can this difference be possible? Can we make a difference? And it's not going to be a short-term thing.
Yes.
Some solutions could be short-term, and others will be long-term. So that within or after 90 days, don't run after me in the street and say, women are still dying and women and femicide is happening. It is going to take strategies which may not yield outcomes immediately. But what keeps me awake is the fact that we now have a platform where, as Kenyans, we can converse together and try to find solutions together, where we can challenge our customs, the negative customs, where we can challenge the stereotyping of certain genders, stereotyping, which puts women, for example, as weaker people, and the dynamics of power, social dynamics of power, men still believing they are the breadwinners.
Has that changed?
That has to change. A lot of things have changed, and I don't know why men can't appreciate the fact that women can also be help in breadwinning. Right? So that some violence is because a woman is is empowered economically. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Some people can't stand a woman who is strong and who has a good salary.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it is shocking. Why don't we appreciate the fact that we can put our resources together as wife and husband and live happily?
Yeah.
I think that is also the mindset. There is the problem of toxic masculinity because men are more powerful, and I'm not focusing on men as villains. They are also victims, but the worst victims, the worst hit, are women. So when men are also violated, it is our business to get concerned. But power dynamics, now I'm telling you Kenyans, it is good to have an empowered wife who works and brings money to the table.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be a source of conflict.
Absolutely.
So we have that mindset, men getting depressed because now women are powerful, women are doing better, women are passing well in law schools and wherever. I think we have to change. And we are living in an environment which now respects equality and non-discrimination. We have created it, a space for equality between men and women in our own constitution and in our own laws and the international human rights instruments, which are part of our domestic law.
Yeah.
And then we are not changing enough to be in tandem with this new environment, where we want to put as much money on your daughter, which I'm sure you are doing, as you are putting on your son. They are all competing. They become doctors, they become lawyers, they become journalists, they become, we have created that space in this country. But our mind state is not changing to be in tandem with the reality of the day. So we are having conflicts where men should accept that things have changed, and an earning wife is a good wife, so that it should not be a source of conflict.
I agree with you. And you see, Dr. That brings back to the aspect of the family, the bond, and who should take leadership in as far as this is concerned. Everybody should take leadership to curb femicide and gender-based violence. But you've talked about that one. But let me also talk on behalf of men. Most men, the society would bring men to be strong. When you report, either they face ridicule, either they face cases of, when inagani, that the kind of question. And that tends to bring a lot of pressure on men that, yes, they might be going through the same. But whenever they report, no action will be taken because either they'll be turned into a laughing stock. You would imagine the kind of pressure that will be piling up on that same man over and over and over again. And when, push comes to shove, we know what happens. How are you intending to change this all over?
Absolutely, men suffer, unfortunately, in silence because of culture, because of the patriarchal norms, because of how we bring them up. Okay, men shouldn't cry. Men shouldn't feel pain. How can a man be battered? But they are being battered, and they try to go to report to the police, and it's like even the police look at him like he's betraying the male folk. Men are the ones who say, you are betraying us. What man are you? And it turns them away. And these guys are going back probably to that home where he's beaten again. So we need to change that.
And sometimes it's emotional torture.
Sometimes it is emotional torture. It is economic hardship and deprivation, psychological torture. It is going on. And we have to change. Men are human beings. Men have feelings. Men feel pain, just like women do. And men are being killed by their spouses or by whoever. So, again, mindset. Police should not turn away men. And you men don't ridicule men when they go to report. They are not betraying you at all. So, encourage them to go and get help. even go to shelter homes, which we are going to recommend very strongly to the president. Can every county have shelter homes where battered people can go to get reprieve? Because now you ridicule that kind of man and he goes back to that house where he's beaten again, or the women beaten again until it spills into femicide.
Yeah.
So men also suffer, and men cry. I encourage you to cry. I'm just encouraging you, be human beings. There is nothing superhuman about you. If you are suffering, please go and report. And the police, please, this is a serious thing. Their human rights are being violated. Their lives are being threatened. And so we look at both men and women, and I encourage you. And the police, I'm being told, are the culprit. And not just the police, the men folk who think that they are being betrayed by these men weaklings. They call them weaklings.
Okay, let's come to the policy aspect bit of it, because now it would mean that you'll have to sit down together with your members and look at the current policy or the previous policies that are in play that for some time either have hindered the growth, or when you look at the policies that are currently in place, are you working to improve them to stop femicide and GBV? Or are you trying to leave some outside that have not been working? Or what are you recommending? What are you planning to recommend in terms of policy framework?
We shall look at the existing policies.
Yes.
And there are quite a number. I've seen many from government. I told you we are all in this,
yes.
including government himself, you know. So we will look at the policies. Are the policies adequate or not adequate? And part of what is happening is economic hardship that Kenyans are facing. You know, the stress that families are going through, stress men and women are going through. We have some policies, economic policies, very good ones the government has put in place. Women empowerment funds, affirmative action funds, youth funds. Those can be used to alleviate the economic hardship. Probably we need a men fund also for these young men. They are jobless. They have social pressure on them. They have to be the breadwinners. They have to be everything, and they don't have. Maybe we re-examine where we are putting a focus. But we are looking at the policies, the existing ones, to see if they are adequate, or we need to change them, or we need to recommend new policies for the government. What we want is to bring sanity back to society. How important is this working group, Dr. In terms of?
In terms of alleviating the ills that is now currently affecting us today.
It's very important. It's very important. From what I have said, for the first time, through this task force, the government as the duty bearer to the Kenyans, the ones who are supposed to look after the Kenyans, has said, let's look for solutions. So the task force is important, and I have said we are not the magic wand, but we can collectively make recommendations that can alleviate the suffering, the femicides, and the GBV, the domestic violence. I'm thinking, I'm very socially oriented, probably running away from too much legalism, and just go to society itself. How can we do this? Nyumba Kumi. Nyumba Kumi, you can help us. We give you a jurisdiction where if there are wife batterers there, and they are known, you lose your job, or a chief, you lose your job because there is domestic violence happening. And it happened in Fiji, and domestic violence was minimized. So we will look at that, but we ask for the support of society. We ask for support of government. We ask for support of religious leaders. You know, our good religious leaders, they have a big role to play. Because they instill values, our value system. And probably what is ailing us is that we have lost our value system somewhere. It is gone. Where we walk with dripping bodies, the human dignity is gone.
Yeah.
Our value system is gone. Where young men are raping 90-year-old women, our value system is gone. It never used to happen.
Do we have a long-term goal after the 90-day period that you've been given?
Yes, the government should have a long-term goal. As I told you, we are to make recommendations. We will try to make appropriate recommendations. Some of them might be short-term, others mid-term, and others long-term. And as you can see, it is not a one-day thing.
Yes.
It is, yes. So we are going to, at the end of the day, if we are serious as Kenyans, and we care for each other, and we value human life of men and women, of our children, the parents take on their own responsibility. These young children, instead of being in the houses reading, they are busy dancing in matangas with drunken men who are defiling them. Where are you as a mother? Where are you as a father? As your children are dancing in matangas and praising, oh, that matanga was very good. A matanga was never good. But because they ate and there was changa to drink, so that matanga was good.
Yes.
I think parents have to take responsibility for their children. Your child has gone dancing in the midnight, she's not at home, and you are okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to ask hard questions. What is our responsibility? What is your role? Your duty is not to pump children into this world and you leave them on their own.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening. This is happening.
Doctor, this is giving Kenya quite a negative kind of perception on the continental or in the world map. Just the other day, the number continues to rise. Every single day, the numbers continue to rise. And it's quite unfortunate that we report them on mainstream media every single day. Are you intending to change that narrative? That at one point in Kenya, we will wake up and then say the curve has flattened? That is our ultimate hope, that we shall do that. The strategies we put in place. Yes. And I have told you we are to make recommendations. Thereafter, the government as duty bearer has to put in place. To do follow-up now. Follow-up. Probably have some unit, serious unit focused on that implementation. The weak link is implementation. So if we can implement, have follow-up, have evaluation, have monitoring mechanisms in those villages, in our own streets, have the police seriously do a prosecution. Yes. Have these people just vanishing and being killed. No, but people think we are not serious at all. People think we are not serious. When human life is gone and we are not serious. We become the laughing stock. And by the way, once we become that laughing stock, or a country which can be doubted, investors run away. Okay? And that has an economical kind of course effect. It does. If investors can't come here because they don't know who will die next, or who will vanish in mysterious circumstances. Talk of that, and we have got a Briton who was killed. There is a Briton there. That is not good. That's not good for us. That's not good for us. Right. And there are investors, by the way, who go by how much a country respects the human rights of its citizens. So that they will look at a country, oh, that one has no record of respect for human rights. They will pull away because it is policy there, where they are. So they won't come. And if unfortunately we get into that bracket of being viewed as a country which does not safeguard the human rights of people, then it's a problem. It's so a problem. The government should put and will put in place mechanisms. It has to curb
these violations.
Absolutely. You know, let's talk about the legal aspect of it. What is the success rate of prosecution, some of these cases? Perhaps if you have a data, the division is already there to help hasten some of these cases. But what is the success rate of the prosecution?
We are looking at that. We are looking at court decisions. We are looking at the number of cases prosecuted. And so part of our outcome there is to find out, are there any success rates in terms of prosecutions, in terms of investigations? We are looking at that. But we see some positive outcomes in some areas, some cases successfully prosecuted, but it could be better. Yeah. So we shall look for improvement and see any gaps. As I told you, the judiciary is having good strategies. We shall work with that. The police, some need quite a bit of training. We shall see if that is something the government can take up and make it its business to do. Eventually, if we get serious and there are consequences for failure to comply or to implement, if there are consequences, I think society will change. Yeah. We'll look at the counties. What are you doing with the money that is coming from the national government? Are you putting it in the right place? As children drop out of school and they are dancing in funerals, what is your focus as the government of that county? Where is your focus? As FGM is raging, where is your focus? As wife beating is going on, where is your focus? So that they have to re-examine the way they are spending money. Become people focused, okay? Most of them are not people focused. Right. Otherwise, they would have strategies to deal with this. How are we spending money? Is it on some big vehicles? Can we change? If I have traveled the entire world. Yeah. You go to Britain, our minister has a very small car. But here we are obsessed and we are poor. We are very poor. Change the way we spend our resources. You governors, these, what are they calling them? Going to learn what? People traveling
benchmarking.
To go. Benchmarking, you can go on online and see which country has succeeded. I
have 1 minute, Daktari. Just do me one favor and please talk to Kenyans who feel overwhelmed by this crisis. And at the end of the day, what is your message to them? And what, you know, just trying to give them that hope at the end of your this exercise in under 1 minute, if you can.
Oh, Kenyans, let's be together. We are with you. You are suffering. People are terrified. Even young people are not dating anymore. They don't know if that boyfriend will kill them or the girlfriend will kill, you know. So there is some hope, but if we work collectively, we can find solutions. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Daktari, asante sana. You know, the issue to do with gender-based violence and femicide, it's a topic that can be talked about over and over and over again. But you see, what makes me happy is that you have started this journey to make sure that we flatten that curve, that at the end of the day, as a society, we live back and say, this is where we belong, and we have got some hope for this generation that we live in, and even for the next generation to come. Dr. Thank you so much for joining us on KBC Talk. All right, so that is Honorable Lady Justice, retired Dr. Nancy Baraza, who is the chairperson of the Technical Working Group on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide in Kenya, a 42-member team. That is huge, but she said that she's up to task and she's going to deliver on her mandate. All right, that's where we take it a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Victor Lo. We are taking a break, but when we come back, we are crossing over to Zinga with Rashid Mwamkondo. Stick with us.